I'm going to talk about a hunt quite a number of years ago, hunting deer. Over time I found kind of a favorite area, considerably into the backcountry. On a migration route, a deer that migrating out of the west part of the Shoshone Forest, or maybe migrating out of the Yellowstone Park. Now this particular day, I had to drive about 30 miles west of here to go basically in towards the headwaters of where I live here in the North Fork. And I had my favorite horse and favorite mule with me. It was a cold morning down there in the single digits, and I was fairly well bundled up, and we had about a foot of snow. And I was riding along, and we got fairly close to where some of these deer would migrate through, and I got off Festus, a mule, and when I got off, I grabbed my rifle out of the saddle scabbard and I put it over my shoulder. And I was walking in about a foot of snow slowly. There's quite a bit of down timber and burnt timber in this part of the country where the 88 fires come through and just burn it out. But wonderful, wonderful habitat. Wonderful, wonderful habitat for deer, elk, sheep, and moose. And I was back in roughly 6 miles now, and I left just light enough to barely see, taking me several hours to get there. And I spotted a deer somewhere around 240, 250 yards if I remember. I didn't have time to even range find the distance. I just knew by sight that it was pretty much point blank. And I real quick tied Festus to a tree. And I stepped ahead a ways, and I kind of leaned into another tree. And I've got a big heavy down coat on. I've got a heavy vest underneath, heavy wool shirt, light wool shirt. I'm dressed for the cold and I'm warm. And I slipped off my glove. I wear really good insulated gloves and sometimes mittens when it's cold. And I got behind my 7mm by 404. This is a Winchester Pre-64 Model 70. The second 7x404 that I ever built. Very wonderful, wonderful rifle. Still remains to be one of my first picks to hunt with. And the deer was broadside at that distance. Didn't have any idea that I was there. There were several other deer ahead of it, does. I leaned into that rifle and I touched the rifle off, and boy, oh boy, did I get it. I got scoped. Now I got scoped here, and I got scoped right there. Scope landed right there. And boy, it caught my attention.
Imagine.
And it was bleeding. It was bleeding pretty good. Running right down my face. And the cold air hit that, and I thought, oh boy. And I had no idea, whether I killed the deer, but I was quite positive that I did. And I slid the rifle in the rifle scabbard and I grabbed my binoculars, undoing my coat a little bit so I get my binoculars out, and I could just see some of the tine of this buck sticking up, because I knew right where it was. And it took me probably 20 minutes to go that distance, because we had to zigzag around deadfalls and over deadfalls and back and forth, and got right where I could, right there beside this buck deer. And he was a decent 4x4, somewhere around 23 inches wide or so. Not anything real heavy, but decent for this day and age. And anyway, this blood pretty well froze on my face. And I worked on this deer for quite some time. I got it all cut in half. Now my pack horse Doc, he was a dandy. And I put the back half in one of the panniers, and I got the other half in the other pannier with the head on it. Doc was only about 14 hands tall. He wasn't very tall, so I could get things on an animal fairly easy, because I'm not very tall. And I've got that head where I can tie it right down to the buck on the pack saddle. Everything all situated very well. Once I got all this done, then I had along a thermos with some tea in it, with a little bit of honey in the tea, and I drank some tea. And by this time it was, probably over 3 hours, 3.5 hours into the time from traveling and handling this animal. And I ate a half a sandwich, and I ate a candy bar for energy. And I got everything all situated. And I made sure that the zipper was closed up on my scabbard, so my rifle wouldn't get wet with snow, because it was beginning to snow again. And gradually we come down the trail, and the sun now, it's past middle morning. The sun is probably finally peeking over the high ridge that's east of me. There's sun. And in my coat pocket, I had sunglasses. And that cold air hit my face, hit my forehead. Those sunglasses protected me quite a bit. And I pulled my cap down, cleared right down to here, And I thought, boy, I hope I don't meet anybody on the trail, because I'm a sight. Looks like I got attacked by something, because I got all this blood on my face, right down my face, in my beard, And anyway, after an hour and 45 minutes or so, we get back to the truck and get everything unloaded. And anyway, got in the truck and let it warm up a bit, and headed down the road. But anyway, anybody that hunts the number of years and does the shooting that I've done over the years, sometime or another, because of circumstances, you're going to get scoped. And I'm going to tell you why I got scoped. I had on this big heavy coat, and I thought about it as I was coming down the trail, starting down the trail, why I got hit with that scope. The rifle wasn't up against my shoulder. The rifle went right under my armpit. The butt went right under my armpit, because I had so many clothes on. I just had my arm up here, and it went right under my armpit, and allowed the rifle to come back and smack me in the head and the nose. But anyway, I'm sure that I was kind of a sight when I got home here for Cathy, with the blood on my face. But she could see what it was, But still, I wondered what I was going to encounter, if anybody was coming up the trail. I didn't bump into anybody at all that might be heading back in that country, you know, after that deer hunt. But shooting uphill and getting into a rifle quick and with too many clothes on, those sort of situations will cause you an issue where you're going to get hit by a scope. I mean, it was told many years ago it was called the Weatherby eyebrow, you know. Well, I really got it. It wasn't Weatherby, however. But anyway, you know, it's just a matter of circumstance how this all happened. And I can still feel what the pain was like as I tell the story, because I had quite a scars on my head, and it was cold and it was painful. But anyway, that's that deer hunting story.